Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. My name is Jason Oliver, and with me are my two co-hosts, Chuck Moore.
Hey, most men don't share their fucking emotions like I do, so right. You guys are in for it today.
That's true. Most men don't. And that's Chuck. There you heard from him. And Jeff Arbuckle, are you here as well?
I am, but I do have a question. Are you a vampire, werewolf, zombie, witch, or alien? It's going to be important.
Or a zombie doing heroin.
Or a zombie doing heroin.
Yes.
What we have for you today is the, I feel like probably pretty underseen 2014 horror film Spring. Written and directed and edited and shot by the filmmaking duo Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, or as I like to refer to them as Benson and Hedges.
Yes, that's what I always say.
So this is the first one of their movies we've done on the podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
It is. It is a little surprising. They have an interesting filmography. And in some ways, this is probably my second least favorite of the 5 films they've directed, but I still like it quite a bit. I don't think it's perfect by any means. It's no masterpiece, but it's very interesting with what it does and some of its weirdness.
But I will say this is the only movie of theirs that I've seen. So
okay, well
yeah.
They kind of broke out on the scene with a movie called Resolution, which was a couple years before this. Very twisty, weirdy thing with like time loops and stuff. And Shannon's the one, I believe it was Shannon, our friend Shannon, who turned me on to that movie. And then they made a pseudo sequel to that movie a couple years after Spring called The Endless, which was on my best of that year, if you remember that far back. It might have been the first year we did best ofs, 2017.
That might have been when we did it as an article instead of an episode.
Could be.
Also. Yeah.
And then they made a movie with Andrew Mackie called Synchronic, which is flawed. It tries to do a really cool thing and it doesn't quite pull it off, and it gets a little corny. These guys have a little tendency to corny every now and then. Spring is a little bit of that too. And then they made a film during the pandemic called Something in the Dirt, which is a really interesting movie about conspiracy theories. And
that's the one I've seen before this one.
Okay, so you've seen Something in the Dirt?
Yeah, because you heavily recommended it when it came out. So
yeah, it's very timely for its kind of take on why people believe the things they believe.
That seems like that's right up my alley. Maybe I should check that out.
And they made it, with just a skeleton crew in one location during the pandemic. Very cool. These guys are very resourceful filmmakers. I find their concepts to be very interesting. They've done a lot of stuff with Marvel recently.
That's what I do know them from, is their Moon Knight, Loki, and Daredevil.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
like their that's like, how do we keep our Directors Guild card work, right? And our health insurance. They get a lot of work doing that, and they do a good job of it. And generally, yeah, they kind of pick really interesting stuff, even when they're doing the kind of hired gun work. Like,
well, I mean,
the Loki stuff.
Loki is really, that's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and they're also they also produce stuff. Like they produced a movie by one of their friends 2 years ago called Things Will Be Different, which is also a very interesting concept. One of the more recently unique twists on kind of a time travel concept. Is very cool. Kind of like a time travel concept that could be plausible with quantum physics and things. Like, yeah, they're into like the mind meldy stuff. Yeah. So maybe we'll get around to some of those. I honestly recommend anything by them, even Synchronic. But I think the Synchronic is probably their least effective work. But we're going to talk about Spring, which Spring, in a way, is kind of an odd film for them as well, because most of their stuff isn't really Lovecraftian. It's more like physics and time, right? That they're kind of
there's certainly a time element here.
Sure.
Just true. a different concept of time. It's time passage as opposed to travel.
Yeah, but this one is I think it's kind of subtly Lovecraftian, not overtly Lovecraftian.
I mean, tentacles do show up from time to time, but it's not ever like focused on that. And we got tentacles everywhere now and Lovecraftian business.
And there's one moment in the movie too where I kind of feel like it starts to go in a very Lovecraftian direction, but kind of it kind of abandons it, which is one of those sort of unfinished thoughts I feel like about this movie. But we'll get to it when we get to it. Also want to mention the score is by an artist named Jimmy Lavelle. He is also known as the Album Leaf. So if you've ever heard his work, he's at some point in time, maybe he's been friends with them for a long time, but he's scored a lot of their stuff. He usually has really interesting kind of ambient electronic scores going on. But yes, so first time watch for both of you then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. This was, I think, maybe a third time watch for me.
Real quick, I do have something to say about our leading lady, Nadia Hilker. Did anybody else think that she sometimes looked like a perfect splicing? And maybe this is kind of part of her character. She spliced together some Lady Gaga and Claire Forlani into one creature.
Which one is Claire Forlani?
From Mallrats.
Oh, yeah. I think she kind of has a, what's her name? She pops up in everything. Monica Baccarin look to her. Or Morena Baccarin.
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that. Yeah. There are times where she does look different from one scene to the next, too, which is also kind of interesting because sometimes you get a different impression of her, which I think is key to the movie in some ways, because she is a very interesting looking person.
Yeah, and her accent is very hard to place, which is it's made a point of in one of their conversations. Her ethnicity is very hard to place. You immediately kind of imagine her Italian because you're in Italy, but she's certainly, I don't think she is Italian at all in real life.
She's German.
Yeah,
but she also has olive skin. Which does not seem to be a German trait.
Kind of interesting too. You look at pictures of her from just even 6 years ago, which would be 6 years after this movie came out, and she looks completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bit of a chameleon.
Which is handy for this movie in particular.
Did you two like this movie?
I quite liked it, actually. I think some of the things that you were saying, I think will come back around, because I think you mentioned something that triggered something.
Okay, cool.
Because you said the term incomplete concept or an incomplete thought. We'll come back around to that. Okay. I'll let Chuck go.
Yes, I liked it. It's a good, interesting movie. It kind of turned too much into the love story for me at the end a little bit. Like, I got a little bit over that, but overall it's good. The practical effects are good. I think the story is interesting. So yeah, I watched it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, not to spoil the ending, but if you're listening to this episode, and you haven't seen the movie, I would recommend you watch the movie and come back. But There's a little bit of a love conquers all thing going on, you know.
Yeah.
There's a little saccharine for me.
Yeah.
But I will say though that it kind of works in the sense that this is because this movie covers every single genre in one way or another.
It sure does. Yeah.
And it lands on kind of the fairy tale romance genre, which I think kind of makes it that much more interesting in a Lovecraftian sense. And it also leaves the question open that I don't think she settled for anything. I just don't think they know what the next thing is. It's, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm using a little bit of my Doctor Who brain where it's like, you never know what the next regeneration might bring. But
sure.
So it could be something like that.
And and she doesn't, right?
Right. And she is even more so a realistic idea or concept of a regeneration that Doctor Who plays with.
And there is a very,
all the time.
And there is a very interesting thing that happens at the very end beyond just what we're talking about. That I think is fascinating. We'll talk about. It's no surprise that Guillermo del Toro is a fan of this movie.
Yeah. I didn't even have to see that in the Wikipedia article.
And it predates Shape of Water by 3 years.
Yeah.
It's make a hell of a double feature with Shape of Water. They're almost sister films in a way. Obviously Shape of Water is just technically on every level better. But it's almost like, baby Shape of Water.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're dealing with one movie is being made by the guy at the top of his game, the other by a pair at the beginning.
Out, right? Yeah, beginning their careers, essentially. Yeah, but still, what they do with locations, with cameras, is pretty resourceful.
Well, I didn't even mention that, like all the Italy, man.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Mean, that's like an easy way to draw me into the movie for sure.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful movie for being so low budget. I mean, they know how to use their and I'll tell you, I thought about it's like, wouldn't it be nice just to work for a kindly old man on a farm?
Dude,
not have the stress.
You hit on one of the things I love in stories. And this is a very Stephen King plot. I've talked about this so many times. Somebody troubled running away from their life who is trying to build something new in a foreign place and meeting people who help them along the way. Right? Mm-hmm. It's so Stephen King, and I gravitate to stories like that as well.
Well, it's even more Stephen King because of what you come to find out about his backstory that you assume the whole time, kind of, or at least I did, who he is. And I assume you, Jeff, do they outright say it at the end? I can't even remember.
I don't know what you're driving at, actually.
He was the husband of...
Oh, the old man. Yes. They don't outright say it. No. But it's heavily implied, for sure. Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And I don't know if you can see in the picture that he's holding in that scene, if you can see the different colored eyes or not.
Heterochromia?
Yeah. I meant to go back and pause on that and look, but
I didn't even pay attention to
I assumed that was what that was. But I was going to say that I think this is also, at its core, it is, it's a very human story, right? It's the idea of people being kind to each other, making friends out of places you wouldn't expect. Like even the British twats that he meets are friendly to him.
Right.
They have no reason to be. They are not his type of people, but they're friendly.
Yeah.
And they hang out for a bit. And it's like, that's kind of nice,
Totally.
Yeah. And the difficulty of fighting for love, like, is well explored here too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that makes this movie really, really nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was a movie that at the end I was like, oh, that was a nice movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into it. The movie starts with our main character, Evan, played by Lou Taylor Pucci, who does have an Italian last name.
He does. Yeah.
He's a guy who has shown up in a few things. But most notably to me, he will always be like the do-rag wearing, scrawny drug dealer from Southland Tales, Martin Kefauver, who shoots the bazooka from the top of the floating ice cream truck and blows up the Mega Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Forever and always, that's who it will be.
And he was, and then, you know, like a couple of years later, or no, right before this, he was in Evil Dead.
Yeah.
He was in the remake of the Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, he was. Yes, absolutely. Which, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it was 2013.
Yeah. I remember going to see Evil Dead in the theater. Like, I made a point to see it in the theater because I wanted it to be in a dark, you know, and I kind of wanted to be captured by it. Mm-hmm. And it is a spooky version of that story. It really is.
I think it's very good.
It is not. It's not the funny one.
No.
It's not the Sam Raimi type, but it is the story told straight.
That's kind of what you get with the sequel to the remake, is a little bit more of the Evil Dead 2, even though that movie's dark as hell too.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise, yeah.
Yeah, that they bring back the playful Deadites in that one.
Yeah, but it's still, man, it's a dark movie. And then I think the first thing I saw him in, I never even realized it was him, but he was the lead in Thumbsucker from 2005. Which pretty weird. He was in back-to-back indie darling films, Thumbsucker and The Chum Scrubber. He was the lead in both.
Are those like, is that a sequel?
Oh, like it would be a sequel. Oh, he wasn't the lead. It was Jamie Bell that was the lead in Chum Scrubber, but he was a supporting role. Anyway, Rory Culkin is in that. It's a good movie too. That's the time period of just weird indie Sundance films, man. Like that kind of like got a little bit of buzz and did really well on home video. What was that one Amy Adams movie that was like that too? Well,
I'll look.
But anyway, what we've got is our main character, Evan, who is sitting, Junebug. That's the movie I was thinking of with Amy Adams. Who's sitting bedside, I don't know, his mother's deathbed, essentially. She's dying. It's not super clear what she's dying of, but it sure looks like cancer. And you can tell that she doesn't have much time left. And she starts...
Quite literally.
Yeah. And she starts to, with her final, last energy, her final word, she tells a joke to Evan. And then she dies. And Evan, realizing that he's run out of time, tries to quickly tell her everything he couldn't tell her while they were alive. That he thought that he and her husband, his father, did a good job, and they were great parents. But it's too late, and so then we skip ahead, and it's the day of her funeral, and they're at the bar that he works at, and he's drinking with one of his buddies who also works at the bar, and the bartender is tending bar. That bartender is in Resolution. He's one of the leads in Resolution.
I like that friend a lot. Like he is
the bartender.
No, the friend,
the stoner guy,
the stoner drunk guy, because he totally dropped his mom's casket.
Oh God.
That floats by you when he's talking. It's like, I'm sorry about the casket. It's like, yeah, it's okay. It's like,
and when the bartender is like, why don't you bury your worries in a couple of beers, and he pours them beers, like, oh, that was in bad taste. It's like, it's fine.
I also want to know more about Shitty Carl.
Yes.
Why is Carl shitty? Because he got rehired. Does he deserve his job? Should he not have a job?
Yes. I'm pretty sure Shitty Carl just is the worst, like, coworker you could have.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't, they would have called him, like, not Shitty Carl.
Or just Carl.
Or well, maybe.
So
maybe there's two Carls.
If you want to know more about Shitty Carl, actually, he is a running character through a lot of their movies.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And I believe he's always mentioned, never seen, right?
So he's like Kilgore Trout.
Yeah, kind of. But it's like, there's a quote from Aaron Moorhead in 2017, Shitty Carl is always in our projects and in our hearts.
Man, that makes me want to go back and watch the first season of Daredevil to see if Shitty Carl is mentioned.
Right? But yes, he's definitely mentioned in Resolution quite a bit. And that's why I think like the character, the bartender, is actually the character from Resolution. I think that wouldn't make sense unless it was a different time period, but it could be. Yeah.
They did the first season of the original Netflix Daredevil, or
the Born Again, the new,
yeah.
And I think they're the showrunners for the season 2 that just started too. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's different name character, so it's not the same character, but Shitty Carl, he's a mainstay in the
That's amazing.
In the Benson and Hedges universe. Anyway, well, what ends up happening in this bar though is that this one guy who is hilariously playing like a white gangster character.
Yeah, I don't quite get this man because he looks like he might be a biker, but he has a grill in his mouth.
He's got a grill, and
he just needs to fit in somewhere. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to beat the shit out of a Padres fan. Sorry.
Is he wearing a Padres hat?
Yes.
He's wearing a Daddy's hat?
Yeah, he's wearing a. It's one of their alternative hats that's like just says SD on it. Yeah.
Suck dick.
But the long story short, a fight ensues, and Evan beats this guy up pretty badly and hurts his hand.
Knocks his teeth out, knocks his grill out.
Yeah. The bartender, who is technically his boss, tells him that he doesn't want to have to fire him. And Evan is like, "Oh, really? I appreciate that. Thank you." And then he says, "But the owner of the bar says, unfortunately, you're fired.
Yeah. Can't work here anymore.
Yeah. So he loses his job. He's also worried that the police are going to be after him, or this guy is going to be after him. So his bar drinking buddy Stoner goes home with him, and they're drinking in his front yard. But the guy he beat up drives by. He's been looking for him. He drives by. He sees him. Sees, now I know where you live. He's like, well, that sucks. But then things are kind of piling up in one night, like the worst night ever. But then he calls. Well,
because the buddy's like, why don't you get a sympathy fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Get a sympathy
like if there was ever a time. Yeah.
Yes. Your mom died. There's only one time you can ever use this.
Yeah. And he does. He calls who it feels like his ex-girlfriend. It's not super explained, but they clearly broke up for a reason, and she kind of like starts to sober up too, and she's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna take off. And he's like, no, and then he passes out, and she's like, yeah, I'm leaving. But before that, she notices that he has a passport, and she asks him about it, and he said, well, before my dad died, we were gonna go to Italy, and we were gonna, I think, when I finished college or something like that, and we were gonna go to Italy. And but his dad died, and then a couple years later, his mom got sick, and he quit school in Berkeley to go take care of her. So he dropped out of college to take care of his mom. So he's got this passport, but he's never used it. He's been to Southern California, Mexico, and eventually Italy. But he starts kind of thinking about it. I can't remember when he makes the decision.
In the car,
when the
cops,
taxi. Basically, when the cops show up at his door the next morning, and then he gets in the car and he's like, "The cops are looking for me. What should I do?"
Yeah,
basically,
should I go to Italy? He has some stranger in like the in the car.
Yeah, the lady sitting next to him. I don't know what that transport situation was there.
It was a shuttle to the airport.
Yeah,
because he calls out and he's like, "I need a ticket to anywhere."
Anywhere, yeah,
yeah. And it's like, oh, white people like going to Italy. Should I go to Italy?
And that's where he was going to go with his dad, right? So he's thinking Italy, and that's what he chooses. And he does go to Italy. In fact, he goes to Rome because you can see the Colosseum as he's walking around. But he eventually finds himself a little bit outside of Rome. Not far from...
bro, I blazed the Wi-Fi code.
What is the name of the little town he finds? I mean, it's a little outside of Pompeii, wherever that is.
I'm not sure what it was, but he ends up at the hostel bar.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I know it's a hostel and a bar, but it looks like it's just called Hostel Bar.
Hostel Bar.
Yeah, and that's where the Brits are hanging out. Like, you can tell these guys are like soccer hooligans.
Oh, yeah.
It's like... Oh, and he tries to like pick up a girl there, and they're like kind of they're giving him shit for it because it's like he's just not forceful enough. They say, it's like, oh, you can't fuck around with these Italian birds like that. It's like you gotta actually like stick to it. You gotta have a little bit more, a little bit oomph to your pursuit here.
Yeah, but they're trying to like talk trash about him, but he's like, well, neither one of you went and talked to him.
Right. And at that point, it's like instant friends because he gave him some shit back.
Yeah.
And
he still can't keep up with their drinking, but...
right.
Yeah, in fact... Because the guy worked in a bar. He seems to be doing okay to me.
Yeah, but these are British soccer hooligans, man. They wake up drunk and go to bed drunk.
Totally different level.
Yeah.
But that's right. They decide the next morning, hey, we're going to get out of here. Want to come with us? We're going to go to the coast, and that's where they go. I don't know the town. I can't remember. I don't know if it matters. But
is it Apulia or Puglia?
Puglia? I don't have my
Could
map.
be. All the Wikipedia says is southern Italy, where he ends up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he goes to southern Italy, and they're going to do some more drinking and things. But they're walking through the city square when they get there, and Evan notices this very beautiful woman sitting on one of the fountains. She notices him. It's a very very like slow-mo dramatic moment with like a camera push, probably an early drone shot, honestly. I think there's a lot of early drone shots in this movie. Kind of following behind, and then him.
It's a good scene because it is kind of a long take. Like you feel like you're walking along with him, and then you switch the perspective, and you're her following him.
Yeah, and you kind of swivel.
Yeah.
It is a drone shot. I read that.
It is,
and it is a continuous drone shot. Yeah.
There's that one drone shot where they're above the cove, and then it comes backward and through one of the city arches, and it's like, oh, that's fucking gorgeous. Yeah.
Italy.
Oh, Italy. But yeah, and that's is when they're in the car, and he tells them that Chuck's quote from the beginning of the episode where because Evan it's his turn to drive, and he's just kind of like staring off into the sun, and he's crying, and the one super gregarious what did you call them? Hooligan? Soccer hooligan.
Yeah.
Football hooligan. He tells him a story about about the girl that he was in love with, the real love of his life, and then she broke up with him, or it never happened, and then he saw her many years later, and she was fat and gross and hideous, and I was glad. It made me feel better. It's just so funny. Like, it's perfectly misogynistic for that character, but funny. And then he says, see, most men don't share their emotions like I do. You're like,
so good.
But yeah, that's when they get to the town, and he has the sort of then almost meet cute with our Italian woman lead, pseudo Italian woman.
Oh man, and the way he's asking, I think, appropriate questions, but she's like, "You're making this more difficult than it needs to be." It's like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, she just wants to take. She wants to fuck.
She is down to fuck. It's like, let's go.
And he is appropriately cautious. He's like, wait a minute, are you a prostitute?
Yeah.
Are you gonna like rob me or something? He's going down the checklist of all the red flags that this is. And
she says you made this so much more complicated than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And then now she's lost interest.
Yeah, and she's looking at the guy behind her shoulder at the bar, right? And he sees that, and he's like, what the hell? But at the same time, he decides he's going to play the long game. He's like, you know what? I don't even care what you end up doing with that guy or anyone else. I'd like to get to know you better. So if you're interested, you know, let's do dinner or something tomorrow. Meet me, I forget where. But she's like, whatever, man. And she leaves. And then his two buddies, they're just giving him hell for it because they're watching and listening to the whole thing.
But he parts ways with them because they're going to carry on to the next destination.
Yeah, they said it's too expensive. They're going to take a train to Amsterdam or maybe drive. That's a long drive, though. That's a hell of a long drive. I think they're probably going to.
I would feel like they would have to take the train. Yeah. I would think.
I would think so.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, like, I understand driving down the coast of Italy. That's one thing. Yeah. But you take a train, you go back to Rome and take the train to.
Yeah, they're probably going to drive back to Rome and then grab a train.
For all we know,
cheap flight. Yeah.
For all we know, they've rented the car. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
So yeah.
I
do like that they're constantly popping beers while they're driving. That's hilarious.
Yes.
Because he's in the back and he slowly puts his seatbelt on. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm good here. He does find out that there's a farm that might have a room that he can stay in. And he just goes there like right away. He like walks there. Mm-hmm. And that's where we meet our kindly old man.
Angelo,
yeah.
Yeah.
And he knows a little bit of English, although he forgets a couple of really important letters on the word jewel.
Oh God, that's hilarious. He knows a hell of a lot more English than Evan knows Italian, that's for sure.
But he's going to learn some Italian from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, that guy.
But he has a citrus farm.
Yes.
Specifically, he grows oranges, and the volcano off in the distance. He doesn't ever say which volcano it is. We find out, of course, it's the most important, most famous volcano in the history of human, certainly of Italy. And he's like, it makes good soil, and he can be very successful as a farmer.
Yes.
That's how you get those good San Marzano tomatoes, too. Ooh, they grow in the volcanic dirt.
Ooh, I want to try and grow some of those this year.
Good. I mean,
I don't have any volcanic dirt, though.
I mean,
I wondered about that because I read you can import the seeds, and I'm like, well, don't you need the dirt? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you can get some volcano sauce from an old Taco Bell.
Like the closest
that shit was good.
Sure was.
The volcano sauce, it was good. The closest thing you can probably grow easily here is like a Roma tomato, but it's so different and not nearly as good. But they're same shape, but they're just tasteless. I hate them.
Agreed.
So I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I'm getting into hot sauce mode for the season, and I'm trying to figure out my tomato that I can use.
You definitely need some volcano sauce
for my tomato base.
Man, Angelo has been in a lot of shit.
Yeah, he has. He has been in a lot of shit, and I don't mean like bad things. He's been in a lot of movies. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, good for him. Good career. All right, so Oh yeah, and the pizza that Angela was making for him looks so good. I wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to make the pizza.
Wanted to eat that pizza. I was like, damn. He's working for room and board, which is great, and a little bit of money in his pocket.
I do like that the angel asked him, like, have you ever farmed before? And he's like, no, not really. And he's like, okay. It's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's only like they're really only farming one thing, right? It's like he can teach them on the fly. Like, oh, this.
It doesn't seem like, it's very difficult work. It's just hard labor. That's why man can't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like in Chinatown where it was rows and rows and rows of orange trees, right?
Forget it, Jeff.
It's you forget it, Chuck. It's Springtown.
It's springtime.
But what is it? The next day, he meets up with Louisa again.
Yeah, he finds her there. Louise is there, and they go look at Roman porn.
They do. We find out that she's some kind of like chemical biologist.
Student. She says she's a student.
She's a student, but
right. Well, I mean,
she's working in like DNA and cell growth.
But she's also like a freaking genius because she is like 20.
Yeah,
she's kind of like the Poison Ivy from Absolute Batman. Sorry, you might not have read that yet.
About that,
sorry. But yeah,
Pamela Isley is a very smart person in general.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you were saying you're working in DNA, yeah.
But yeah, so and they're looking at she keeps mentioning like past boyfriends as well. Like she's had this really long life, right? There's all these little clues she's dropping that she's far more world experienced than a college student. Yeah.
Yeah, and since she said, she also says that her accent's all fucked up because she spent time in Italy. She was born in Italy. She spent time in Germany. She spent time in
Romania,
Japan,
maybe?
Romania. Yeah, it's like she's been everywhere, and that's why she sounds weird.
Yeah, she's Johnny Cash. But she does draw his attention to a particular picture of the lady with the monochromatic eyes, and she asks him what he thinks of her, or maybe it's a little model. It's either a picture or a little statue thing, and he's like, she's beautiful, and she's like, yeah. So there is kind of like, that's another little hint.
Yeah, for sure.
There, yeah,
it's like a little like a fresco or something like that. Yeah, painting. And we notice a lot of different paintings throughout the movie of a woman with two colors eyes, right?
Yep.
Throughout history and a lot of these paintings that they encounter. So that's a lot of little clue sprinkling throughout this. But this kind of commences the before sunrise aspect of this movie. It's where I like to call it Linklater meets Lovecraft, because it very much has that feel when you're together with these two characters. They're starting this intense relationship while also getting into a really heavy philosophical and existential questions, right? By the end of it, they're very heavily into discussions about, is there a God, and what is love, right? Like these, and does love exist, right? And if it does, maybe it's just a biological thing, right? So it's these scenes. This is, I think, the heart. Obviously, it's the heart of the movie, but this is what I really love about this movie: is them together, the rapport they build over time, and you can kind of really believe that they're falling in love.
Yeah, it's they interact very realistically. It's they like there's at one point he says he tells a story about his friend, and she was like, okay, well, what's your point to that story? He's like, nothing, is just a funny story. And that's such a realistic interchange between two people getting to know each other. You're trying to in some ways talk about your past. Like he talks about Tommy a lot, the drunk friend back home. Oh my God, when he calls Tommy later, oh my God, it's so funny. Yeah. But it's just, he's just trying at anything to show that, he's got something to him. Maybe she's well traveled, but he's got stories to tell too. Maybe they're not grand or, over the top, but it's so realistic. He's trying to, he's being human around her, which is really, really important as it turns out, the whole humanity element of it.
Yes. And there's nothing overwritten in any of these.
No.
There's this tendency, I think, sometimes to make characters like this more eloquent than they would be.
Flowery, yes.
Yeah, and that's not here. I don't think at all. Evan is always genuinely him, who is
warts and all,
a little bit blue collar, a little bit, has some bad habits, but is genuinely trying to be a good person, even if he's going to stumble along the way, right?
Like everyone.
Yeah, like pretty much
in your early 20s.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. Because I think they set him up in this movie, I think, to be a little bit abrasive, especially with him beating the shit out of the guy in the bar. I mean, you can kind of understand why. You're never like against him.
Oh, right away.
You're a little like cautious of him. It's like, am I going to like this guy?
To be fair, though, they telegraphed that couple was going to be a fucking problem the very first moment that you saw them. Because the woman is drunk and it's like really loud, and she is like in a fight with the guy. And then, it's just you like they kind of telegraphed that, hey, Evan, he's just kind of doing a little bit more over the top, like you might feel right now watching this character,
Yeah. But yeah, this date ends with them going at it, and it's at Evan's farm. I don't know how the hell they get out there, but a farm he's working at in his room, and they go at it, and there's a very, very significantly, they set this up really well too, because the girl he is going to have sex with before he leaves for Italy asks him if he has a condom, and he kind of like fumbling for one, and then in this scene he's ready, like he wants this. He pulls the condom out, and she takes it out of his hand and throws it on the ground. It's like, oh boy, that's interesting, right? So we don't really know what she is at this point at all, other than she may be too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they do quite a good job of making her slightly dangerous the entire movie without you knowing much about what her actual intentions are.
Dangerous without being scared of her, really.
Well, we know more that she's dangerous than he does.
Yeah, sure.
But we don't really know if she's dangerous. Just there's signs of it. Like the fact that immediately, like, it's funny how this gets reversed or how you think of it at the end of the film. Cause the two things you mentioned, Jason, one, her trying to get him back to the apartment, like immediately when she first meets him, and then throwing the condom away. Well, she's trying to get pregnant at this point. You just don't know why.
Right.
And you assume, since you're watching a monster movie, if you know that there's something bad going on.
Yeah. Some monster business.
It's probably one of those movies the best go into blind in a lot of ways. Yeah, but it's kind of hard to when all the promotional material around it is very, very significantly selling a monster movie.
Right. But the one thing I will give it a lot of credit for is what the poster shows with the spiky, spiny stuff is not what you see really in the movie. Like you get a lot of different
and
stuff.
Even that like stuff is kind of not dishonest, but a ruse, right? To the movie you're actually watching.
Yeah.
Because it's not a monster movie.
No.
I mean,
there's a monster.
It's a monster
in
movie,
it.
like Shape of Water is a monster movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because because you do see a lot of different monsters in this, because the first, like when she wakes up in the middle of the night, she's a monster. She looks like a vampire, and she stumbles away and gets away, and she ends up like eating the head off of a cat, like a street cat. And then her next transformation later is more werewolf-like.
I was like, and at that point I was thinking, did I see the first monster wrong?
Right.
Is this a werewolf? I thought she was a vampire. And
right,
then
exactly.
You get more and more clues. You're like, oh, what the fuck is she?
Right. Yeah. Turns out she's a lot of things.
Turns out she's like every chain of the evolutionary chain.
Yeah, because also
every link of the evolutionary chain.
Because at one point she's right. Yeah. At one point she's also reptilian because she sheds her skin.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like it's all over the place, but it all hits differently. Like it's like when things really pick up, she's everything at once. But yeah.
And this is where we get into some of those Lovecraftian themes, right? Like the idea of these monstrous creatures being part of our reality, but maybe on a plane that we don't see or experience every day, but still part of our reality.
Right. And just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're not here.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that they are us in some ways. Right. Yeah. And the other cannot be explained. And I love the conversation she has about science around that. It's and the fact that, everything that's ever been, thought to be supernatural has eventually been explained by science. And you can hear her when you know her situation. You can hear her in those conversations and understanding that she thinks the same thing about herself. Like she's just trying to solve it, right? She wants to understand it. She even says, there are things I don't understand about myself. Many things I don't understand about myself, right? So that's what her whole drive is to understand and control these transformations. But when we find out what she is completely, that's a thing she doesn't necessarily want to change.
No,
it's interesting, her desire of keeping that going, because it kind of flies in the face of a lot of immortal monsters. Are like, they're mad. Yeah. That they can't die.
They're tired.
Yeah. They're tired. They're bored. She has a different outlook on that. So it's kind of a fresh perspective on the immortal being.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. I mean, I just, not that long ago, I watched Zardoz again because I reviewed it for B-Movie Enema. And one of the things about that movie is the fact that humanity has evolved to the point where some of them can't die, and it would suck. It would suck because, but like I'm firmly in the camp of, I don't want to live forever. I don't want to grow and have attachments and then lose those attachments all the time. It's like at some point I need to be the loss, not everybody else, And so we'll get there, but it is interesting because you don't often see the other side of it. Most of the time when you have an immortal monster like a vampire, they're just reveling in the bloodlust if they are quote unquote happy with what they are. But once you become somebody like Count Dracula, has been around for a long time, you're done with it. It's like you don't want to be staked, but you're looking for a way to grow old and die like a natural human.
But we also learn about her, one, because Jeff, you mentioned she bit the head off a cat or whatever animal that was, but she also keeps a male and a female bunny rabbit together. Right. And he even comments like they're going to have tons and tons of babies. And you immediately are like, oh, well, that's what she wants. She's breeding. Yeah, right. She's breeding bunnies, so she doesn't have to kill humans. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you kind of get a little bit of a clue into her psyche there.
Yeah. I think she's using the rabbits, until she's not, because that's the scene that I still don't fully understand. But she's using the rabbits also to help create her serum, which kind of keeps the stem cells from the baby rabbits, because you never see any baby rabbits.
Yeah, I'm saying eat, but yes, she's using them. It's a plentiful resource.
Exactly, and it helps keep her transformations at bay, which she can't control. I mean, what we're really talking about here, when we find out everything, is she has a 20-year menstrual cycle, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So she and in when she has to get pregnant, or else she
becomes violent.
She'll turn into this monster creature. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like if she gave in to her impulses of eating humans and killing humans, this wouldn't happen as badly. Like, she has a kind of a makeshift way to deal with it with the bunnies, but I don't really know that for sure.
It's
that
kind of the sense I get.
That makes some sense.
Yeah. I mean, if she just became whatever she was meant to become, she'd probably just slither into the ocean and that'd be it. But she wouldn't have any of the human part of it. And there's a little bit, I mean, if that's the case, then there is a little bit of vanity. That is why, because she has been painted so many times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she has been adored so many times through all of these different versions of herself.
Right. One of her boyfriends was probably a Renaissance painter, and a famous one. Otherwise, that picture would not be
wouldn't be the cover of a
museum or the cover of a book.
Yeah. And and it's like I like that her syringe. First of all, so I do like the idea that she is kind of trying to blade this up, right? Like, have syringes to quell any kind of hunger, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere she's got a Chris Christopherson preparing these things for her.
Another movie that Guillermo del Toro has involvement with.
Yeah. And he created mutant vampires, so we got mutants in there too. But anyway, so it's like she has these things, and we can kind of get the impression that she has to inject herself with this to get rid of monstery bits to her, whether it's skin changing or full on monster face, or whatever. But I like that, to help us realize that this helps her during the bad times. She puts a little frowny face on the syringe. So it's the frowny face syringe.
It's the frowny face syringe.
Yeah.
Take when things are bad.
Yeah.
Man, he comes over to her apartment. Well, there's a really funny scene, because after she leaves, after their first night,
oh yeah,
Evan is pretty devastated by it. He's like, man, I mean, one night stand, she gone. But he runs into her in a little deli or shop, and he says, "This really is a small town, isn't it?" And it's really, really smart writing, because she tricks him and she tricks us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because she's playing like she doesn't know who he is. And we're thinking, we don't know what's going on with her. This is some weird monster shit. Maybe she did regenerate or something, or she has like a short memory, or we don't know, right? But then she kind of looks at us when she turns away from Evan, and she gives a little playful smile, and we see it, we understand. We always know a little bit more than Evan, right?
Yes.
Evan's stupid.
And she turns back to Evan, and she starts laughing. He's like, "Oh, that's fucked up."
But it's like their relationship continues on.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I had to leave, but we're right back in, it's like, and this, you do kind of get the impression that maybe she does kind of like him.
Well, yeah, like once you watch the end of the movie, you think back to scenes like that, and she is effectively trying to protect him. Like, she's probably done that before to somebody and said, "I don't know who you are," and didn't give up the ghost, or turn it into a joke. Like, she's probably walked away from many men who have impregnated her, right? Mm-hmm. But and we find out why for certain later.
Yeah.
But she made a choice there. Like, I like this guy enough to let him stick around, even though he's probably served his purpose.
Mm-hmm. And maybe she likes the thought of being pursued in this way. Maybe that's never happened before.
Maybe.
Or at least not in the same way. Yeah. Like, I mean, because she does talk
context.
About, yeah. Because like she does talk about like, I mean, yeah, effectively this is like Doctor Who regeneration. She changes. She takes on part of who she is now, part of the person that impregnated her, but she keeps all of her memories. And so,
is that
like,
how new Doctor Who's born?
No, but there is one instance where the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, was chosen. Like, there's a fan theory that his look was chosen because the Peter Capaldi played a character in a 10th Doctor episode that died in Vesuvius. Huh. And the Doctor didn't save him despite his companion begging that he save one person. And so he was like wearing that face as a reminder that he could have. He didn't.
Interesting. Right.
So it is. So there are times where it's like, okay, maybe a Time Lord can take an impression of somebody and become, and take their looks, but they remember everything from their past lives.
I'm going to somehow find some Scream shit in this movie so I could talk about Scream.
Well, we haven't touched upon any Star Trek. I could say she's kind of in her Pon farr.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Spock gets pretty violent too.
Ay.
Jason knows what I'm talking about for sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh man, I mean Chuck should too.
Star Trek 3.
I've seen all the Star Treks.
Yep. All right. So also, I think one of the neat touches about this movie is all throughout the movie you're seeing the corpses of dead animals, small dead animals, heads of animals. But also around plant life, you see it bloom like quickly and before your eyes, right? And it's always
even on stone walls.
Yeah. So there's this kind of death and rebirth, right, around her that is symbolic, but also a very real effect that she's having on her environment.
It's almost like she is like literally like a godlike being.
Mm-hmm. I mean, could be
Shape of Water yet again.
Yeah, I mean, could very well be. But anyway,
I also did you kind of wait real quick on that idea. Yeah. Speaking of Shape of Water, did you get the impression that she kind of helped his hand heal faster? Oh, because there's one point after a couple of days he takes off the bandage. Oh yeah, and his knuckles look perfect.
Yep, I 100% agree. Yes, because it's sort of it's the early part of this movie. It's kind of hard to get a sense of how much time is passing.
Sure.
But once you kind of realize, it's only like by the end of the movie, he's only been in this town for like 5 days. Then you think back on the other things like the knuckles, and you're like, oh yeah, he healed really fast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, she heals him in many other ways that you don't see.
Absolutely.
Too. And that's kind of like talking about love in general. But I think she has that effect too. If you're around her enough, like you become a calmer, better.
She talks about how she has pheromones that I think she lets off, or that she thinks she lets off.
She even tells me maybe you shouldn't even trust the way you're feeling around me. Yeah,
right.
You hit on something, though, the healing aspect of it. There's a spiritual healing too, like his mind and his soul, if you believe in such a thing, are being healed. And Jeff, you mentioned the moment when he tells the joke to her, and she's like, "What do you mean by that?" And he's like, "I don't know. It was just a funny joke. It's a funny story." And that makes me think of his mother when she died. She took the saddest moment of his life and told a joke, right? Yeah. So you can see him kind of starting to I guess maybe understand what he was taught in that moment, even if it's just subconsciously.
Yeah. Because later when they're sitting on the shore and he's actually telling her about his, about how he lost both of his parents, like that's cathartic. I mean, like he can't say that to Tommy.
Right.
And she has a completely different understanding of life and death. Like that is
we lost Jeff.
Whole other level of understanding of life and death that she's bringing with it.
We lost you for a moment there.
But actually, it's stitched together.
Sorry.
It's stitched together well, though, so I think you're okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. But no, it's just, I mean, because I mean, again, anytime that they actually are sitting down and talking to each other, that's some of the best stuff of the movie.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And because it just feels so natural.
It does. It feels natural, and it doesn't feel, like I said earlier, overwritten. But I guess going along with that, it doesn't feel like unapproachably philosophical or existential. It feels very like real conversations that real people have about life and death and religion. And
it feels fateful in a way. Like they understand each other in a way that we don't need explained to us. Like kind of like without using love at first sight from a romance movie. It's almost like that concept, but explored differently here in a way.
True, absolutely. And I love how it leans into the biological aspect of attraction and desire and sexual needs and how it leaves it ambiguous. I guess that's the real ambiguous part of this movie is was it a physical change or was it something of the mind and of the heart, right? That caused
I think it's both. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
I
agree with that. And because like also when you get into like the fairy tale kind of romance element of the movie, where it's like you have somebody that you're instantly attracted to, and then you find out, oh my God, she's more attractive. She's less attractive physically because she's more interesting and attractive that way. I mean, that's the thing that everybody, male or female, would look for in somebody, somebody that you can be instantly interested in, but then only become more interested in because you find out they are really smart or they're really funny or you just enjoy being with them.
Yes. And these two don't have that like 6 month, period of what do you even call that?
The honeymoon
period where you're not who you are.
Right. Yeah.
Like they are who they are. Like
they live.
He has to hide one thing from him. Right. But yeah.
I mean, and because she even says at one point that she's never lied to him. It's like, well, lying by omission. But I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know that you're an octopus, squid, vampire, werewolf lady. I don't know. But what I do like is that in 5 days they have a lifetime together.
Yeah. That's the other thing. All right. So let's talk about first when he really finds out what's going on, because it's quite a shock.
Well, because she tries to break up with him first. That's the first thing, because
she does effectively break up with him.
Yeah, and she because she realizes, this is getting too. I don't want to do this, and she's like, I can't see you anymore. Sorry, I led you on. He goes home and gets loaded. And then immigration shows up.
Well, and she eats the dumb tourist.
Oh my God, that guy! I don't even speak French.
Dude is begging to get monster eaten. It was
At least you know who
fodder.
Not to. You know who you're supposed to like, and know who you're not supposed to like in this movie.
Well done too.
Perfect writing.
It's well done too because we don't begrudge her defending herself. Right? Like no. The fact that she turns into a monster and tears him apart is like, you can defend that because
sure can.
Yeah.
We've seen him 3 other times right before his beheading or whatever,
talking about his dick out on the water or whatever.
Talking about not knowing French when he's in Italy. We're fine. It's go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
World's a better place. Good job.
Send him home in a box. It's fine. Yeah.
I love it though. Like going back to the farm when immigration shows up and the guy is like, immigration? And Angela's like, see. He's like, do I need to worry? See. Should I run? See,
it just takes off because that's when the movie is a comedy, right? Like there's moments where this movie is super funny, and when he just books off into the field, I lost it. Like that was an actual out loud laugh.
He jumps over the stone wall and trips over it. Yeah. I could honestly watch a completely different movie with just Evan and Angelo. Like I really could.
Yeah. I want to know about
the movie that she kind of makes fun of, which is like, oh, are you going to tell me that you're having a life-changing experience under the tutorship of an old Italian farmer?
Yes. Oh my God.
The fact that that's a great little line of writing, right? Like being able to kind of point at your cliches, poke a little fun at them,
Yep. It's a good cliche in this movie. Most of the cliches here are not used in like an overt way. They're just kind of there to move the story a little bit or give. Yeah, it's good stuff. Rather,
I do like stuff. when he's lamenting that he lost his mom, and then he lost his job. And then he lost the love of his life, and now he's lost his job again. And that guy in the bar is just staring at him.
Yeah, he's like, "Hasn't immigration picked you up yet?"
Right.
It's like, where's the number for ICE?
Right. Would it be gelato there?
Yeah, it'd be Italian ice.
Wow, now they all look like Marios.
Yeah, it's me, Icio.
The bushiest mustaches you ever did see.
But he decides to go back after he's gotten drunk. After
he doesn't exactly have any other place to go either.
So he decides to go back to her house, her apartment. Knocks on the door. He hears what he sounds like some sort of commotion or whatever. And he opens the door and it's chained, but he busts in and he sees her on the floor of her apartment, and she is like half octopus, half, I don't even know. Like
she's every cryptid in the book.
She's basically. Every cryptid.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Imagine whatever you think of as far as a Lovecraftian monster goes, and that's what she looks like.
And she's trying to grab her frowny face needle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he'd already had a confrontation with her about this because he saw an empty one in her bathroom. And
that bloody shower. My God.
The bloody shower scene where she like.
Well, she was also peeling, so there's blood and hair.
There was a she was shedding. Yeah. Super gnarly. But yeah, he'd seen the empty syringe in the bathroom, and he confronted her about it because he was worried that she was an addict or something, and then she explained that she had a medical condition, and then she starts poking fun at him. Whoa, did you think that I gave you AIDS or something? Right?
You did think that,
didn't you? She's really good at giving him shit, but he gives her shit back too, because my favorite line in the movie is, "Stop talking shit about my boat, Evan."
Oh my God, yeah, it's so funny.
That's kind of just another nice scene we don't need to get into, I don't think, but
I would love to go to the water would terrify me if the boat like toppled over, but I would like to go to a cave that's got that luminescence.
That reflective light off the top of the cave. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But anyway. Again, that's the romance part of it too, right? It's like You're there with a beautiful woman in a beautiful situation, in a beautiful country, and it's like, come on. And who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't fall in love there? Who wouldn't fall in love there?
Yeah. And she takes,
it's like,
so she's caught up in this too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the place where you go and
doing that unless she were feeling something.
That's where you go to propose to somebody, you know?
Right. But there's also another one of those clues. He questions, like, wait, you have a boat? Later on, he's like, wait, you have a car?
It never came up.
No, we could have been driving back to the farm every night instead of walking, which I'm sure was a pretty long walk. But yes, he injects her, and it staves off the creatures. Another movie that this reminds me of a little bit is Altered States. Ken Russell's Altered States. Have either one of you seen that?
I've seen that.
It's a little bit Lovecraftian in that sense too, of the reverting back to your back in the evolutionary chain by a combination of like sensory deprivation and hallucinogenic drugs.
Yeah.
That you can bring your physical evolution, like your physical Neanderthal self forward and make it physical, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely kind of what's going on here.
I was feeling a little Midsummer in the beginning, honestly.
The sun-drenched stuff.
And the parent dying and the... Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel that for sure.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, obviously I picked this movie because we're doing Halloween in April, springtime, right? Spring. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, spring is clearly a very heavy theme of this, that the rebirth of...
Yeah, historically, mythologically, all of that stuff. The spring is important.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that this movie is called Spring.
Yes.
Sorry, just in case nobody knew that.
I thought she was going to actually turn into one of those springy snakes from Kubert.
I thought she was going to be a Jack in the Box.
That would be one hell of an evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there was that one episode of Voyager where Janeway and Tom Paris turned into those salamander creatures. There's another Star Trek reference for you. That was an evolutionary fuckery going on there.
Shortly after this, Evan finds out what the deal is.
Right? Yes, she explains it all.
I want to mention real quick an exercise in pacing and acts in your film.
Yeah,
he finds out that she's a monster with like exactly 35 minutes left in an hour and 40-minute movie. Perfect. Our third act begins.
Mm-hmm.
It did. Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't look at the time signature, but it felt very like...
I'm pretty sure he arrived. I'm pretty sure he arrived at the farm or he meets her again after arriving at the farm after around 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Benson and Hedges.
Yes, good job. I wish.
Yeah, but stop selling Evan cigarettes, though.
I wish
Benson
that
Hedges.
Evan smoked Benson and Hedges. I mean, that would be just. Mwah.
Do they even exist anymore? I guess
no idea.
No, they do. They're in England.
I think I've seen the gold pack on the wall when I go to the gas station.
Well, that's what he buys at that convenience store.
It is a gold pack.
Yeah, I think that's what he buys.
That's great. That's great.
That would be. Let's just pretend that's the case and not look any further into it.
No further.
That is forever going to be the case. Yes.
Yep. We're allowed that artistic license.
Explain again. Summarize if you can and are willing. What she explains to Evan.
So she's been around for about 2,000 years. Every 20 years, she needs to get pregnant so that she can metamorphosize. I don't know, whatever. Metabolize. Yes,
her unborn
baby, her unborn child for the stem cells that she's been stealing from rabbits instead to stave some stuff off, so that she can be reborn. That's the spring, right? Her being reborn each time this happens, she takes on like half of the person that she had sex with. So she'll look different the next day. She'll potentially act different. You won't even recognize her. The only thing I think she keeps every time are the monochromatic eyes.
The eyes in her memory.
The eyes in her memory. Yes.
Yeah. She, and I think, really in shorthand, she becomes the child fully grown.
I guess, yeah. I mean, you could look at it that way. Totally see that. The only way out of this that she has surmised is to actually fall in love and to have her body produce enough oxytocin, I think is what she says, enough oxytocin so that when the 20 years passes, instead of being reborn, she becomes a human again. Which would be another kind of spring for her, right? Like if she chose to be a human, she'd be reborn as just a human, presumably, right? That is her understanding of this. The monster stuff goes away, but she becomes mortal.
Yeah. Right. And she will die in 60 years or whatever,
right. And
yeah,
she's 20 years old and she will, well, I don't know. Is she 40? Whatever. Cause it's been 20 years. She should be theoretically 40. The timing doesn't really add up.
She doesn't age. She doesn't.
Oh,
age.
You're right.
She only gets the hunger, basically.
Yeah, she would start aging at the switch. So she'd be 20 years old, and then
and then and so
essentially she stopped aging at her coming of age when she
in Vesuvius
for the first time back in Vesuvius. Yeah.
Yes, and we do find out that all of those pictures and things that we've seen of the dual colored eyed people throughout time has been her.
Yeah.
Like that is revealed.
And she tells, it's like she has a little bit of fun with that. It's like, oh yeah, look at this guy. It's like this was his deal or this was his horse or this was, like she's like recalling the memories of when she was painted or drawn.
Yes.
Or,
the one when she's like, oh, and look at this guy. He's all
she's a funny lady.
She is. I mean, she is very much kind of the perfect girl. Like if that's what you're into, she is kind of written to be as perfect as possible.
She's human.
Yeah.
Like it's weird because she's not human, but she's very human in a lot of ways.
But she will always say she's human. She's just a mutant of some sort, but she can't she doesn't know quite enough.
That's the biology part of it that she's talking about. Yes, 100%. One other thing to note, since I mentioned it earlier, Angelo had said that his wife had died in a car crash and he's not been able to move on since. Right. She says very near to here, we're in the car, that in one of her lives, she died by driving a car off a cliff.
Yeah.
Which is very Italian.
He asked her, it's like, have you ever driven off the cliff or something like that?
Has anyone ever?
Has anyone? Yeah.
And she's like, I have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the connection, like
100%.
For me, that makes it obvious that her and Angelo were a thing at one time.
And she probably, and because she doesn't act strange around Angelo or anything. I don't think it's a missing memory. I just don't think she can recognize him, much like he can't recognize her anymore.
I don't know.
Because that's one of those things.
I think she might be avoiding him too, honestly.
Could be, but why would she go back to his farm? I mean, I assume that's where they lived.
She didn't go back to his farm.
Well,
I guess she did.
Time they have sex, they do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, it's she didn't love him. Right. And it's been a long time.
Well, it's probably been like
he would not recognize
40, 50, 60 years. Yeah.
He would not recognize her.
He wouldn't recognize her. And I don't think she could recognize him because, like if he's just part of, like if you really think about it, she's been with 10,000 men.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this one was within the last 40 years.
Yeah.
But probably the second to last guy she was with. Like, I get what you're saying, but I also think he wouldn't recognize her because of the rebirth, and she's done it again subsequently.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's just a neat thing to write into your movie, and
it's fun,
and not really need to go any further into the thought that, oh man, yeah. She's doing the same number. She's doing the same number on Evan as she did on Angelo, right?
That's what she's going. Her plan is to do. Yeah,
and it creates a little suspense, and it creates a little like early heartbreak. Kind of brace for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to talk Evan out of it the whole time, and Evan's like, "Well, I've seen you at your worst, so and I'm still here."
Yeah,
and she's never had that before.
Oh my God! When they go to the cathedral, and she's like all monster faced out, and he's like, and she's like talking louder and louder. It's like, oh my God, that's so, I mean, that's like,
and her little tail is coming up behind Evan to kill him. Too.
Yeah. And like her eyeball's about to fall out and everything. And the other couple that's there, so like, what's wrong? It's like, oh, there's a zombie doing heroin.
Yeah.
People who believe in God will believe anything. So
and I feel like
except for that God didn't create everything. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why, but I feel like, people in provincial Italian towns just they've seen it all. I don't know why.
They're my kind of people,
but they've just seen it all.
Yep.
And we should mention too, when they go, well, we're kind of right at the end, but they go on a road trip. She only has maybe a day, so they decide to go
Evan convincing her, like, just spend your last day with me. Yeah.
And they end up going to Vesuvius, and this is where she explains that she was born and where her family was, and they're walking through the ruins of Vesuvius and looking at all of that, so wild and creepy, like the
plaster casts
of the people who had been covered in lava, right? And it's an amazing thought to think that they cut those lava chunks out. When they were excavating, and they had the
and there's preservation to
and probably mummified portions of it. That I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing.
Well, she explains that they inject the plaster into it and I wonder if. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it's kind of gruesome, but it would be interesting to find out more about that. Like,
yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah,
but they go
spill some water on the ground and find out. Sorry.
Yeah. But they go to where her family is, and she's like, "This is my father, my mother, and my little brother." And Evan's like, "Man, that's kind of creepy." And she explains that she realized at some point that it was her mother. Was like her, and that her mother had given up. This is so important for the ending. Her mother had given up her immortality to be with her father and to have children and live a normal, hopefully long life, right?
Right.
And then that she's kind of wistful and a little introspective about that. And she knows, like, time is short, and they go up to a little, a little bench, and they sit down, and she puts her head in his lap, and he, and what does she say? She's like, tell me a story?
I think something like that, yeah.
And he just talks about what it's like to be human, the human experience. And,
how every moment is precious because life is short.
Well, there's only finite numbers of moments,
Yeah. Every sunrise, you only get so many of them. Enjoy the good things when you can.
It's the perspective of an old person talking to a young person, how I would talk to my kids.
Right.
Now, but it's reversed.
And it's beautifully reversed because he can understand, because of her and the lifespan of her against his, he sees his life now as more precious, right? And he's fully grown in that moment. I think past his grief, past his hang-ups. He's
a healed person.
He has become healed, right?
Yeah.
And turns out, we don't know. It's still a coin flip at this point whether or not she's gonna, turn into a crazy Cthulhu monster and kill him, or if she's going to remain as herself. And because the camera pushes in while she's on his lap, and you start hearing like weird monster sounds while he's talking.
Right, it is, yeah, and then it slowly pulls out, and you see her hand first gripping his, and it's normal, and then you pull out, and you see that she is also her.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks down at her and it's like, okay, like I expected to see. And he just kind of goes back and he looks over his shoulder at the sun. But then Vesuvius erupts.
Yep. Sure as fuck does, which I find so interesting. Like, that is probably the most Benson and Moorhead idea in this movie, right? That there is this connection to time.
The volcano was kept at bay because of, yeah,
absolutely. Like, the physical world, we're intricately entwined in it as individual people. Like I've said this before, everything is one thing, right? Like, there's so much of that concept is in this monism. And it's kind of like beautiful, but it's also really sad.
Do you think they definitively die there?
I don't think there, but I think it depends on what they do next.
Because they could have gotten buried by Vesuvius, right? Like her mother did.
Just like her mother did, right?
It's pretty far away. I'd be surprised if they, because it is kind of off in the distance. Like, I would be concerned for Angelo.
I don't know how quickly Vesuvius erupted and swept over Pompeii, but I think it was pretty fast. I don't think they had a lot of time.
Well, Pompeii, I think, was right next to.
Well, that's where they are.
Yeah,
it's technically where they are.
Yeah, they're right next to it because they just saw her parents' bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's part of the ambiguity too, right? I said this movie needed more ambiguity, but I think it's actually got a lot of it. It's fun to talk about these things out loud because
because the end is the beginning, right? In a lot of ways for them, or it could be a definitive end. They either die.
It could be the end again. Yeah.
Yeah, or they are starting a new cycle of something, So,
well, yeah, and again, it's like that cycle of birth and
it's metaphorical.
Yeah,
it's metaphorical that the volcano erupts, but it also actually fucking erupts.
yeah. And it has
pretty cool.
It had it in 2,000 years, right? So it's just like this. I don't know. It's a perfect big idea.
Yep. And it is fun to talk about these things out loud because if I rated this movie at this moment, I'd probably give it a higher rating on Letterboxd or whatever you use than I did at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good one.
Yeah. Good one to talk about. A lot of avenues to explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. And I think there's probably a lot we didn't really even give a proper deep dive into, but I think it's okay as well. We hit on all the big stuff.
Yeah, and I would urge people to watch the movie anyway, just because it is a very sweet movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, it just is a good movie. Yeah.
And I think it is one of those kind of movies that you could learn something about yourself watching that is independent for each person.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chuck. It does a really good job of navigating a lot of really existential theological ideas, but with a lot of an open mind and with a kind of like a personal tailoring. Like you can see a lot in, like you said, yourself through your prism,
personal experience.
This movie. Yeah.
I think also it helps that the movie does, and I don't mean this in a negative way that some people would apply the term to a movie, but there is a meandering feeling to it that feels like you are walking through a town or walking through life. There is a meandering element to it where it's like you're just experiencing the same things the characters are. They meander through a town. You are too. And it's, and I think it makes it more personal. I think it makes it something you can identify better with.
And that's cool that, Benson and Hedges, God damn it, I didn't even do that on purpose, understood the importance of that drone shot and having a continuous shot, like to your experience of the movie and feeling like you are with them. Because there aren't a lot of cuts. There aren't a lot, like you're just kind of there with them, and it enhances the feeling. Like a lesser movie, if it's was switching camera views and stuff like that, it'd feel too disjointed. Like, yeah.
It wouldn't have the same effect, at least. Yeah. At the very least. Yeah.
I would really like it. It would be a fun triple feature to program. To start with Before Sunrise, then play this, then play Shape of Water. Like that progression, I think would be fascinating.
I don't remember Before Sunrise. Is that one of theirs?
No, that was Linklater.
No, it was Linklater. That's Ethan Hawke, Julie
Delpy, One Night in Paris.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw that.
Oh my goodness, you should. We should talk about that movie.
Let's do it.
There's a trilogy of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Linklater went back and with Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke, like 10 years, I think, apart. 3.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Yeah, I never watched it.
Oh, they're really good. It was Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight are the 3.
Isn't there a 4th one? Isn't there one that's After Sunrise or something like that?
Is there? I don't think so.
Or maybe they were talking about doing a 4th one?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised that they're overdue for one.
I've seen Before Sunrise, but that was like 30 plus years ago now when it came out on VHS.
Let's put it on the list.
We'll put it somewhere on the list.
I mean, you'll see it and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about with this movie being that type of movie. I'm clearly an inspiration. It had to be like at least part of what they were trying to accomplish when Benson and Hodges or Hedges.
Benson and Hodges.
I can't even. Now they're like a 70s crime duo.
Yeah.
I thought they were a men's tennis duo.
I like that too. They're playing Wimbledon. Yeah.
Yep.
They end up with their own brand of sport coats.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, I'd like to bring more of those two to the podcast as well. I think Resolution would be a natural place to start at some point. So maybe sometime in the near future we'll talk about that movie.
Maybe sometime. All right,
Jeff. What's going on, Jeff? Tell us about the things.
Yeah. So next week we've got a Film Seizure now playing. I'm going to fly solo on it. I'll try to do and you've been listening to Film Seizure as best as I possibly can.
You'll see. I will see. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll do my own thing. But I've got a little bit of a backlog of stuff, and the other two guys, they're a little busy right now, so that's cool. I've got backlog. We've got another now playing later in April. I know that Chuck and I will have a couple of things to at least we'll have at least one thing to talk about that. But that will be next week on April 15th. I'll talk about stuff like Project Hail Mary, Undertone, 2 movies who do 2 things technically exceptionally well. That I don't think Undertone is going to ever get the flowers it deserves for that technical prowess that it has.
That's definitely on my list. I'm curious.
It was so wonderfully sound edited. It's so good.
I would hope so. That sounds like
it is necessary for that movie, but it helps.
That's usually what it's lauded for, even by people who don't like it, which are quite a few people. But they usually say it sounds great. So that's
I don't know what people. I mean, I think critically it was well receptive, but anyway, I'll talk about that.
This is how I felt about last year's Surratt. It was my pick for best sound, even over Sinners, which was amazing for its sound in every aspect. Surratt's sound is everything to that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Project Hail Mary does the 2001 thing. If you're out in space, there's no sound. I love that in science fiction movies when they do that. Yeah. Anyway, so that I'm going to be talking about some movies next week, and that will be on April 15th. Go over to filmseizure.com. That's where you'll find it. All of the places you can follow us on social media, where you can subscribe and listen on various podcast sites. All of that stuff you can do for free. We give it away, guys. We just give it away around here.
We're so nice.
We are very nice. I, though, on the other hand, charge $100 an episode for you to listen to Monster Mondays. And this upcoming episode of, no, I'm just kidding. That's all free too. Also at filmseizure.com, this upcoming Monday, I continue my aughts, my 2000s, monster movies with I Am Legend. That's a good vampire flick. That's a good version of that story. I like it.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember liking it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's perfectly thrilling.
I'm not saying it was okay. I'm saying I remember liking it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's perfectly thrilling. It's perfectly well acted as a mostly one-man show. It's good stuff. Anyway, so
the sound design in that
is really good.
All the creature, that was all done by Mike
Patton.
Yeah.
Yep. And one exceptionally unfortunate death in that movie that really hits you in the old heartstrings. The dog.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fucks me in.
Anyway, so that is this upcoming Monday on Monster Mondays at filmseizure.com. This Friday at my website, bmovieinema.com, I have a review of Golden Needles, directed by the same guy who did Enter the Dragon, as well as Force 5, one of the classic Force films from Film Seizure's past.
Hell yeah.
Starring Joe Don Baker and Jim Kelly. It's always fun. Not the Bills.
Not the Buffalo Bill.
No, not the Buffalo Bill. The the blaxploitation karate guy. Although,
yes.
Yeah. Anyway. So go over there. That's good stuff. Certainly better than that biker piece of shit that I watched. But anyway. All right. Until next week, when I have some new releases to talk about, newish releases to talk about. I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.